While people file in, we always like to do the question of the day. And Kristen, welcome. And since we're talking about restaurants and it is turkey season, so we have to talk about the Thanksgiving meal. So,
Nice.
for you, what is the most must have on the Thanksgiving table?
Um, this is not going to be popular opinion, but my husband makes this like homemade cranberry stuff that is like so good.
Yeah, what's in it?
It's so good.
What
Yeah.
makes it so good? What's it made of?
It's like whole cranberry. Like he makes it from cranberry. So it's very tart and sweet and it's it's like it's like ice cream sauce. Like it's so good.
Is
I
it
have it on
smooth or kind of
everything.
chunky?
It's got like pieces of cranberry in it, so it's kind
Right.
of chunky, but it's not like the
Mhm.
Jello.
It's not can shaped.
No, it's like an actual sauce.
Well, yeah, we grew up on the canned shake stuff, and then
I did
and my
too.
wife, but yeah, my wife makes like the real kind like that, and it is good. I do like it.
It's
I don't eat a
very
lot
good.
of it, but I do like it.
Yes, a little goes a long
Somebody's
way.
somebody's shouting out Brussels sprouts. Now I am a Brussels fan, but we don't do that on Thanksgiving. Mine, as strange as it is, my mother has always made potato salad, and
Oh.
there's this ongoing battle with my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law. Potato salad is a spring food, not a fall winter food, so it should not be on the table according to them. It's on my table.
I can
So
see the argument, but if it's good, it's good.
exactly, right? That's what I want. I like it. So all right, let's talk about what we're here to talk about today, and that is got to move some slides around here. And that is our webinar today is what it's really like serving restaurant clients and why you should do it anyway. I like that. My name is Gary Dehart, and I am the host for today's webinar. And our speaker is Kristen Nies Ciraldo. She will introduce herself momentarily, but this is a series, so I'm sure a lot of you folks have been here already and know who she is. So, but before I do turn it over, I do want to shout out one quick poll question, and that is regarding our cruise that we have coming up. As a leader in your practice, you need time to think, you need time to plan, and you need some coaching and guidance to help you build a plan to move your business to the next level. In July of 2026, which is not that far away anymore, we are doing a cruise with Dawn Brolin and Vanessa Vasquez leading some content around basically working on your business. So it's a 7-day cruise, 3 days of that working on your business, other time to network with others and just relax. But basically, at the end of that cruise, you're going to walk away with a 30-day game plan and a 3-year plan. Kind of where do you want your practice to go in 3 years? So we'd love for you to join us, or at minimum, love to share some information with you about it. If you want some info, just say yes. Looks like most people have responded already anyway, and then we will send it over to you in the next day or so. Then a couple of housekeeping items. That's the only poll question. This is only a 30-minute webinar, so there's no other polls because there's no CPE. But if you do have any questions, just drop them into the Q&A. But as always, be specific in your question because Kristen might not be able to get to it when you ask it. So just be sure to give her details so she'll know what you're talking about. You will receive an email following this event with a link to the archive, which will be posted on our YouTube channel. And then any information that Kristen shares, like the slide deck or what have you, will be in a box folder. Link to that will also be in that email. And lastly, once we're done, there will be a short survey that pops up, and we do ask that you just complete that survey so we can ensure that we're giving you the type of information you're looking for, and we can give some feedback to Kristen as well. So, Kristen, thank you so much for being here. And we've got your dogs in the house, and of course, they get active as soon as it starts. That's what they do. Somehow
That's
they know.
right.
So,
It's all
all right, well,
part of the
Kristen,
course here.
that's what they do. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thanks, everybody. And if we don't talk again, y'all have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. So, hello everyone. I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. My name is Kristen Nies Ciraldo. I think a lot of you have been with me for prior webinars, but just in case not, I am a restaurant and bar specialist. And I've been in that industry for about It's actually more than 25 years now. I started learning accounting there. So accounting is my second language and restaurants and bars are my first language. But I have agreed to do this Insightful Accountant series because I really have a heart for this industry and I want other accountants to know how fantastic these clients are. And so today we're kind of summing up the series. Just as a reminder, in the past, we took a look at what makes a good client for you. And this was a few of the things that we sort of talked around being maybe if you think these are good qualities in a client, then serving restaurants might be a good niche for you. So the ones that are colored are the ones that kind of align with how restaurants operate. So I just ask you to keep those in mind because today we're going to go over not just what makes them a good client, but what makes them an enjoyable client or like why you should serve this client base, even if all these things match or don't, why I think it's a particularly rewarding and all those things client base. So let's get into it. It's hard for me to do this webinar because I have written a lot on this topic. It's always threaded through everything, almost everything I do. I'm really passionate about making it easier for accountants to serve restaurants and bars, particularly independents who don't function as much like manufacturers as some of the chain restaurants and restaurants with commissary kitchens and things like that, as much as they do. So it's throughout everything I do. So distilling it down into a half hour is tough. So I just decided to kind of skim along the surface of what tends to scare people and why I think you should just do it anyway. First of all, we've got technology, history, the advisory piece, and just the industry itself. And that might actually be in the wrong order. So first off, technology. It's not just that they have more technology. It's that technology is sort of obsessed with them. Like they're always making new things for them. It's an industry that is constantly being poked and prodded and coded for and all the things. Because it's been around forever. It's certainly not a fly-by-night industry, right? It's a good bet. It's not going to go away tomorrow. It's kind of here to stay. It's been around for hundreds of years. It's baked into society. So why is food and beverage, that's F&B, why is it so into tech? Well, why do people keep on trying to solve problems for these people? It's very high volume compared to a lot of other places. It is complex compared to a lot of places, mostly because of the high volume, not necessarily because any one transaction is more complex than any other business. But when you have a high volume at a rapid rate, it tends to up the complexity. And there are very thin margins. And I think we've gone over this a bit, but it truly does affect everything about the way owners operate in their businesses and therefore how they relate to us as accountants and bookkeepers. And that's part of the thing that many of us can feel like is so frustrating. Like, how do I relate to these people? They're not getting back to me. They're really moody. They don't like what they don't like. I have heard similar complaints from restaurant owners about us. My theory is that we're actually two sides of the same coin. And the reason we clash is because we're a lot alike and we like what we like and we like what works and we don't want to be sort of pulled away from those things. So finding commonalities and being able to build on those is a really good way to just do a small pivot. And suddenly you're actually working with people that understand you more than maybe a lot of other industries. What are the questions that tech usually solve for? They're trying to solve money, they're trying to solve time, and they're trying to solve resources. Money is simply like, hey, tracking money, counting money, moving money, categorizing money. And that is what takes up a lot of the sort of first tier of technological helpers. Think POS systems, even almost everything, like the cash registers, banking, tip tracking. A lot of that stuff is about money. Because it solves for money, it also solves for time. What else solves for time? Things like scheduling apps, syncs between different apps solve for time. And all of these things end up solving for resources, because when you solve for both money and time, you basically solve for energy. And so there are so many opportunities for tech and apps and all the things to sort of descend on restaurants. And it's actually gotten even more intense than it used to be, because during the pandemic, this was an industry hit very hard. People tended to either go away and have to close, or they made it and thus had a lot of PPP money could invest. They were in a different financial position than they had been in the past, just as an industry, for the ones that survived. And I think people finally got the idea that, like, hey, these guys need a lot. They need a lot. And owners, quite frankly, they started paying attention because they didn't have anything else to do. So they're like, we have this money, we have this time we have to be closed. We might as well change our POS system. We might as well change our scheduling app. We might as well figure out what the best way to do cost of goods sold is. So it was a time of change for a lot of this industry. They're more open now to tech than ever. So that means you really need to embrace your role. That's what your clients, as restaurant clients and bar clients, are asking you to do. What does that mean? It doesn't mean know everything. It means be able to connect tech and curate what that tech tells us, and then deliver insights about what it's telling us. Now, look, that doesn't mean you have to know everything about restaurants. It might just mean, hey, cost of goods sold was more last month than it was this month. Your client is going to ask you, oh, why is that? You're both going to figure out together using the profit and loss and other reporting. But you can't do that if the data isn't in there in a way that makes sense. So what I mean by delivering insights is not that you know everything about how the restaurant works and what your client wants to do. That is not what that means. Think of it this way. It's you being prepared to take an order and having the systems in place to be able to fulfill that order. Your client is going to order something. They have a question that they want to ask you. You're not meant to like psychically know the question. You're just meant to help have the tools to answer the question, or help them answer it for themselves, or be able to answer it together. So that's our role with restaurants. And frankly, I think with a lot of accounting, it's something that we tend to miss sometimes. This industry in general, as I was saying before, it's fast, it's visible, and it's hungry for information. As much information as they get from all their technology, they don't actually get a lot of information they can use. It's like trying to drink out of a fire hose. There's so much data. And quite frankly, as much as tech does stuff for this industry, this client base has kind of been invisible. They are assumed to be very difficult. And so they sort of have their people that focus on them, like me. And then that's kind of the end of the story. They're kind of on an island all their own. And it's been that way for a really long time. It has to do with a lot of these myths that they fail more than other businesses, which is false. It's just more visible when they do. You tend to notice in your town if a restaurant's open, and if a restaurant closes, you tend to notice. You don't notice if the marketing agency opens and closes. Like that's not, you're not noticing. More data? No. Yes, more data coming at you that's already arranged for you, but not any more data than any place else. Think of it this way. You could find out all the details about, again, a marketing agency or a dentist's office that you could find out for a restaurant. You just have to do it manually. Restaurants, the difference is they have data packaged, they have more data packaged for you. This makes people feel like there's more work. And there is a little bit more work when it comes to, narrowing down that fire hose of data into a trickle that can be understood. Mostly, we don't have more work, we have different work. A lot of stuff is being taken care of with automation in this industry ahead of a lot of other industries. So there's already a lot of stuff in tech and a lot of stuff happening being automated in this industry. We've already had to move on to be a different kind of service to our clients. They've always wanted it since even before stuff was manual. So, or before stuff was automated. So it's not more, it's different. It's usually more work for less clients rather than less work for more clients. Basically, with this industry, when it comes, it basically language and is important, but connecting the dots, connecting languages, connecting insights, connecting patterns, connecting tech to other tech. That's what rules. Interpreting is almost less important because we're lucky our clients tend to know a lot about their business. They just don't know a lot about accounting. Those are two different things. And I think sometimes we can forget that. I think sometimes they forget it, to be frank. I think because they don't understand their P&Ls, they don't understand their business. And that's not true. And that's why classically in this industry, advisory has always been included. They didn't call it advisory. It was just, hey, this is my bookkeeper. And when I need something, I call them. And then they find out how to fill out, or they fill out the business license form for me, or they help me figure out why my cash is off, or they tell me if I can buy a stove. That's just how it always was. I was surprised once I pulled my head out of the sand and started looking around and realizing that other people were doing bookkeeping besides me, and started getting involved with the community of bookkeepers. I was amazed at stuff they knew that I did not know that was really simple, like debits and credits. Those still mess me up. And it took me a really long time to get online, which is unfortunate. But the whole flat rate pricing, my mentor, we've always done that because working with restaurants, they can't handle pricing being all over the place. It's always been flat rate, and it's always been more expensive than I found out most other bookkeeping services are. Why? Because they don't want to have to think about whether or not they can call you for something. They don't want to have to think about, no, I shouldn't call because we can't afford an extra hour this month. When really that's the call I need for sure, because that's the one that's going to cost more later because they don't call me and ask, and then something's going to get messed up. So we've always been on a flat rate or tended towards flat rate stuff and advisory stuff. Why do restaurants love advisory? Or just insights from their bookkeepers and accountants? Number one, we're able to take a mid-range view. Restaurants tend to look really long-term, like they will look to next year and even beyond. But they won't look short-term. They can't. The trends over a few months, or what they should do a little bit at a time to pay off a debt, that is not of immediate importance. They don't have the bandwidth to think about that. They rely on us to have that mid-range view about stuff. And luckily, that's where accountants kind of tend to live, especially bookkeepers tend to live there. Beyond that, it kind of seems contradictory, but I don't think it is. We have a future mindset. Like they tend to get stuck in fires and what needs to be happening immediately. Whereas we have the ability to say, okay, we've had 3 of these fires. How can I sit back and figure out a way to prevent this in the future? Is there an app we need? Is there something? We're able to slow down and see the patterns rather than just absorb them like, through the gut like they do. And quite frankly, they like us for advisory because, to me, a lot of what advisory is going that last mile. It's connecting the end of automation to the beginning of that client's personal experience. It's basically walking that connection to them of understanding, of data, of interpretation, of insight. It's just being ready to like step off the train tracks and walk to the front door, that little tiny bit where automation ends and their personal business begins. And we've had to do that for them for a long time because we can, because it's fun, I think. Anyway, something said, I read this somewhere and I thought it was such a good definition that advisory should feel like obvious relief. You just feel like, oh, thank goodness you can help me with this. Oh, thank goodness you can talk to me about this. And I'm going to tell you something, restaurants are hungry for this kind of work. I know that can seem intimidating, but it shouldn't, because we're going to get to that. Okay. What's the history of this? Does it work? Yes, it already works. It's been working for a long time. It wasn't ever a separate offering, as I said before. Why is a restaurant's experience of having these kinds of interactions a bonus? Number one, like I said, they're used to paying more. Number two, restaurants tend to care more about what is useful than what is standard. In other words, you might have a restaurant that doesn't give two wits about their P&L being in on the 10th, but they definitely want to know their cost of goods sold every 2 weeks. So there is a lot of room to really curate. That's also why it can be difficult to serve restaurants and other kinds of clients, because some things they need aren't on the same cadence and they aren't the same kinds of things that others need. So it can be a lot of work to serve only one of them in a way that is really taking advantage of that advisory relationship. And number three, they know their metric, like they know what their metrics are. They know cost of goods sold, they know labor. They're kind of obsessed with those. There's some that they don't think about as much, but cost of goods sold and labor, they definitely care about these more than you do. They're hungry for this information, so much so that they are trying to calculate it themselves on their own computers using their POS and their invoices when we have all that data, which is just a waste of everyone's time. So we have a lot, they are already ready for us to help them. They want it so badly. Why is your restaurant experience an extra bonus for you to be able to serve this industry well? Number one, when you compare your experience with restaurants to your experience with other businesses, chances are you likely have the most experience with restaurants than any other business. Unless your parents had their own business, or you had your own business as a child, which may have been a quote unquote restaurant business selling lemonade or whatever, you have had a lot of experience with food and beverage businesses as a customer. Chances are 10% of you at least have worked there at some point, probably more. And the other thing to remember is if you are serving restaurants, please, for the love of God, do not compare yourself to restaurant experts who have been doing it for a long time or only do restaurants like me or someone else. Don't do that. You're comparing yourself to the person down the street that doesn't do any restaurants and hasn't learned anything about restaurant bookkeeping at all. That's who you're competing with. You may think, oh, I'm not ready, but I guarantee you, you are now more ready than the person who has not looked up anything about restaurants. Promise. So you're ready. And most of what you do, once you start getting into a restaurant, most of what you do for other businesses applies. In that way, it is not like construction or nonprofits where like a lot of stuff doesn't cross over and it's very specialized. A lot of stuff is special, but a lot isn't. At the end of the day, it's more about the method you get stuff than actually what you do in the books. What you do in the books is pretty much like every other business, is just faster, or there's just more of it. the reality is that when it comes to history, all of your history matters. And one thing to remember, restaurants don't need your restaurant experience. Restaurants need your financial experience, your ability to interpret numbers, your ability to find patterns in data, your ability to record data, your ability to know like how government works when it comes to reporting and all that stuff. That's what they don't know about. They can connect the dots to their restaurant if you can explain the like what the data is doing, what it means, what the relationships mean, then they will connect how to use that in their restaurants. So in that way, you don't have to be a restaurant expert. You just have to be restaurant curious. The last reason that, given all these complications, why I think that people should just serve restaurants anyway is because restaurants really, really, really matter. I know this sounds really high-eyed and like whatever, but they really do. Even before the pandemic, this was kind of coming home to me. And then once the pandemic happened, I mean, you talk to anyone and they're like, oh, I can't wait to go out to a restaurant again. There is something about the way we move in the world that draws us to doing things like eating together and drinking together. It is ageless. It goes back very, very far. This is an industry that will be around in some form, likely forever. In addition to that, you get to do work that belongs. The people you work for actually appreciate what you're doing. They really, really do. They really see the value in it. You do not have to convince them. Number two, you can actually see how giving clients information impacts the way they do business. Like you can actually see it. You can also see how the way you help clients impacts how they see themselves, how they see their business acumen, how optimistic they are about the future, even if the information in the books isn't very favorable. Just being able to understand what's going on is such a huge exhale for most clients that you can actually see that what you're doing makes a difference. And beyond just with clients, restaurants, we all have a history with restaurants. We go to restaurants to celebrate, we go to restaurants to mourn, we go when we go to another city, if it's all just chains, we wouldn't know what city we were in. No, we know the particular places in our city because they're ours. It is indelibly like tangled up with our personal histories. And so to be able to help pieces of history survive or new endeavors thrive in a community is so rewarding. I find it so rewarding. It's work that matters beyond your client and beyond yourself and your own business. I think it matters deeply for communities. So if you want to work with restaurants, this is why work with restaurants matters. For restaurants, they get to feel understood. They get to have a partner. They get to find someone that's flexible. They get to find someone who's an advisor, and they get to feel supported for who they are. For us, we get to feel invested in something larger than ourselves. We get to feel valued as professionals. We get to spend our time with generous people, which don't sleep on that. That is very, very key. We get to do things that actually make an impact, and we get to see what we do not just have an impact, but also have a larger meaning. And that's valuable. It's not just valuable to you as a business, it's valuable to you as a human, and it will also be valuable to your employees as humans to be able to see that. So my final thing, it's changed a little bit. If you are the kind of person who's been curious about serving restaurants, you are already ready. You should allow yourself to be a beginner in this because you cannot learn anymore sitting on the bench. You have to just do it. So I would encourage you to be brave and do so. We've gone through all 6, as Gary said. They are all up on you, or they will all be up on YouTube. I have a tool coming out likely on Black Friday to help accountants with their year-end close for restaurants. The link on this slide will take you there as soon as it's up and ready. Beyond that, do we have any questions? Let's see. Nope. I guess it doesn't. It looks like no.
Yeah, I don't think they have any questions. All right, we're going
All
to wrap
right.
up today's session. Kristen,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for letting me do this series. It's been so great. And I just
Yeah,
thank
it's
you
a
all
pleasure.
for repeatedly showing up and indulging my inability to talk about anything else besides this industry. I love it so much. I could talk about it forever. So thank you all for just being interested, curious about it.
Are you an accounting or tax professional who wants to stay ahead without spending a dime? Join thousands who trust insightful accountant and tax practice news to keep them informed and empowered. Get expert updates on QuickBooks, Xero, tax planning strategies, and workflow tips delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a solo bookkeeper, firm leader, or tax advisor, these newsletters are your shortcut to what's next in the profession. They're free, practical, and built for people like you. Visit insightfulaccountant.com and hit subscribe to start your smarter workflow today for free.